Hello Street Fighter fans, my name is Akira Koyama. I play as a Goken. This is a cookie. Okay, this is episode 6 Q&A video.
Hi guys, I am Joey Anser, director, writer, Akuma. So, an interesting episode. It is the first true appearance of Akuma in the series, and there's quite a tense showdown between the two of us. So let's get down to your questions. Okay, Sarfaraz Janjua, one of our great supporters, has asked a whole load of stuff, so I'm going to try and condense some of his questions. He said that finally hearing and seeing Akuma in this episode was out of this world. As a huge Akuma fan myself, Joey, you really did his voice and look justice. Thank you very much. He asked what went into the voice and the look of Akuma, and what artwork were we inspired from in the look of him, and the signature red eyes, etc. So the voice is really important for a character. In cinema in general, voice is very important, and I think when you look at amateur filmmaking versus sort of Hollywood slick production, what you really notice is the richness of the voice of characters. So it's very important to know how to capture that live on set, and also how to maybe enhance those things in post-production. I had a big challenge having to speak only Japanese in the series.
Yeah, he was quite good for the memorization, and then...
I know, with doing everything else, right? But I think because Akuma and Goki are meant to be essentially the same person, just evolved, having Gaku's voice present, mixed in, gives that familiarity. In terms of the great thing is when you go in and do stuff in the ADR suite, which is where you do dubbing in the sound studio, you can really get all the richness of your voice, and you can tweak things in post-production to bring down the lower register or give more reverb to the voice. So there was quite a lot of time and work went into the final voice you hear, but I'm glad you guys like it. The look of Akuma, as you said, some artwork he looks like a complete monster with sharp fangs and just white eyes with no pupils and stuff, whereas other artwork he looks a bit more, still like a human, just morphed. And I think this series needs to be believable, so we've gone for a look of Akuma that's looks like him, but it's not so ridiculous that it just looks like a silly monster, you know? A lot of people said, why don't you have the red eyes the whole time? Obviously, I guess budget and time is one thing. If I had more time, I would have experimented with red contact lenses. That not are glowing, but it may look a bit silly. If Akuma's eyes are always red, it may just look a bit too distracting and too unhuman. So you can see his eyes glow red when he's channeling Dark Hadouken.
When he gets energy is getting higher.
But then when he's kind of normal, he's got normal eyes. But it would be interesting to experiment with subtly red eyes. But we'll see. We'll see. He says, finally, looking back at yourself as Akuma, how did it make me feel? Were there goosebumps galore? Yeah, it's funny watching yourself play a character. I think you've done a good job as an actor when you can watch yourself and it almost feels like it's someone else. It doesn't feel like you're watching you. You know it's you, but it's kind of another character. And I think I was pretty pleased when seeing Akuma in the presence, on screen.
Actually, when we were filming that day, so that I was just writing at my diaries, and then Akuma just appeared back myself. Then I turned back and then looked, and then we communicated for the dialogues and stuff. Actually, I felt like a evil, like a bold, like kind of like a presence. And then I'm actually, usually I'm okay for the pushing back, my keys pushing back, but this Akuma's appearance is like pushing me back. Strong.
Good. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. In some of these scenes, there really is that atmosphere, And I remember on the day when I walk past Akira and leave, afterwards he was like,
that moment was so intense.
And yeah, because when you're staring into another actor's eyes, in character, it's quite
in the characters, there's something happen.
It's quite a powerful thing. Okay, so let's move on to another question from Bruce Brown. The healing technique that Gouken uses on Ken, was that a move he learned from the scrolls that Kotetsu gave him on his warrior's pilgrimage? Was it something that he learned to do himself? So he's talking about the moment when Ken has been knocked unconscious, and you say,
and I just charge it for the chest and just in the warrior's pilgrimage, I guess I meant again, and then again is he does technique for the cure massage kind of a chi energy things I think Gouken got studied from Gen.
I think that's right. I think Gouken's power of nothingness, because of the way it works, is you have to cleanse your mind until all you're aware of is your own ki. It then makes you very good at manipulating ki. So he says in Japanese, when Ken is unconscious, his ki flow has been disrupted. And then almost like a defibrillator when someone has a heart attack, he managed to kind of kickstart Ken's ki flow again with a little pulse of his own ki. So I would say that it's not to say that maybe someone like Gotetsu couldn't do that, but I think Muno Hado has more healing applications, where Satsu no Hado is purely destructive. Let's see what we've got. Brendan Hayes, I have an Akuma question. I love how when we see Akuma talking and standing, it's mainly from the shadowy part of the room, or we see the backside shots, similar to Nolan's version of Batman from the shadowy parts of the room. Not a lot of extreme facial close-ups. And it makes him look mysterious and creepy. Did you worry that Akuma was being introduced too early without showing his progression? After you showed the progression photos, I thought that's how we would see Akuma revealed. Well, yeah, I think in terms of the narrative structure of this series, always want to keep the audience on their toes. And I think by suddenly seeing Akuma, finished Akuma first, before you see Gouki's transition is quite interesting. So first you're like, who the fuck is that? And how he looks so different to Gouki. You think, how is that possibly the same person? And then it's like, well, now you'll find out, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's more of an interesting thing. Throw someone something so you ask a question, how is this possible? And then as the series progresses, you're like, okay, we're going to see. They're going to show us the progression. So yeah, I think I'm glad you like the reveal and the dark reveal. I think Akuma, to keep his mystery, you can't overexpose Akuma too much. If you show too much of Akuma for too long, it loses that intimidation, which is why he appears and then you don't see him for, a long time. Okay. Here's one from Renith Gray. There's some Satsu no Hado going on outside.
Cookie.
Okay. In future seasons, this is from Renith Gray. We give you hints as to how Ryu ended up in the woods as a toddler or small child. Does Muno Hado give people the ability to sense other people? Gouken was able to sense Gouki's presence. Well, I think as this dog, as you can hear, can sense something. I think most living beings, if you're in touch with nature, you can sense. But yeah, I think anyone who practices Ansatsuken, anyone that uses ki is going to feel someone else. If someone's got a very strong ki and it's radiating energy, they're going to feel it. I think Goma will go into Goma's backstory in a bit, because there's some other questions about Goma and how he came to find you and bring him to you. So we'll address that in a bit. Okay, Merle Bowman has asked a couple of questions. Let's start with his question for Akira. He says, how did you approach your role? Did you see any of Gouken's cutscenes or videos from the Street Fighter 4 game and try and add more to his character? Or did you come to the project with your own idea for how this teacher, father figure should be?
Yeah. Actually, with I cannot see any kind of like a Gouken's character on the animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit clip and stuff. Yeah. I'll approach like I did everything I can do. Like I watched videos like martial arts masters, like yeah, just training and everything. Yeah, but in my opinion, like maybe my father is like a figure for my father.
Yeah,
is my master, like a masters for the teachers for the martial artists.
Yeah,
yeah, that the people who taught me maybe just quite lots of things is like a affect to express that character.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. So a combination of your teachers was kind of your influence. Yeah, I mean Gouken in the animes, he doesn't have that much of a strong character. So as Gouken, as Akira said, there wasn't much for him to draw on from the anime, other than okay, he's a big guy. So I think with all the characters in Assassin's Fist, it's about exploring who these characters really are deep down and giving far more layers and detail than the animes show you. So Gouken we had a very basic backbone, but we had to really build him up and create a background. I think, from a mixture of the script, but also in long discussions with Akira, we had a long talk about Gouken's Mushashugyo, stuff you would have done that you don't see or hear about in the series, but so you have this history, in your mind for the character.
Yeah.
And it also helps reading Shogun, because the scenes in the past show you what Gouken's gone through.
For my younger age, for the Gouken characters, teaching me a lot.
Yeah. He said, Mal Bowman also asked, why does the 10 symbol appear on Akuma's back when it's only one of the many reminders of Sayaka that he burned in the fire? If he wants to reject her memory, the Met symbol would have more meaning to him, especially since that's the symbol associated with Shin Akuma in the games. Very good question, Mal. I was hoping someone would ask that, and I'll reveal the answer. So you're quite right. In order for Goki to achieve Akuma status, he had to transcend humanity. And that's what the 10 kanji means. So Sayaka gave him this kanji and essentially said, you need to think about this, meditate its meaning. And he realized through 2 years in the cave, obsessing over what she meant by it and what this symbol represented, that he needs to go above the limitations of humans. Become heavenly, almost godlike. And how is he going to do that? Well, by getting rid of any human weakness. Now, emotion, any kind of emotional attachment or love or dependency or care, he had to get rid of. So you could see symbolically as he threw items into the fire.
Yeah.
That's him cutting his ties to anything. He's like, I'm ready to face death now. I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I have no one I'm worried about that I'm waiting for. I'm on my own and I'm ready. But the irony is, he meditated for so long on that symbol and what it meant that it became manifest as part of him, which is why when Akuma does the Shungoku Sats for the first time on Gotetsu, it appears in the sky, and then it burns through in his back. So it's almost like this thing Sayaka gave him has manifested itself as a symbol of Akuma, that he's almost godlike. So that's why it burns through on his back and actually burns through his gi and leaves the mark on his gi. Because deep down, although yes, he's cut away his emotional ties, that symbol has now become part of him.
Yeah.
It represents who he is. I hope that kind of gives you an answer. It's kind of deep. La-di-da-di-da, what else have we got? Ronnie Dielman, You were asking other questions about Akuma's appearance, the prosthetics. Why didn't we go for a full face mask? Okay, good question, because with a lot of prosthetics, you could have a prosthetic from your brow that, like a bald cap, goes over your whole head. The problem with that is then you lose some of the expression on your forehead, you know, when you're creasing and emoting. And I wanted Akuma to still be able to emote, to express, rather than just having this solid forehead. And to make it realistic, because too much monster makeup, if it looks fake, too fake, it's going to take you out of, you're going to stop believing. So
face expression is important.
Yeah.
When they're acting. Yeah.
Exactly, to be able to move your face and not just have this solid block covering your eyes up. So I think from Legacy, again, in Street Fighter Legacy, it was like a dress rehearsal. We didn't have time, and that prosthetic was too thick and too heavy. You're sweating underneath it, it's sliding off. So we went the other way for something more minimalist, relying on shading, and the contours of my own face suits Akuma quite well. So yeah, who knows, in World Warrior there may be another slight refinement of the look, but that explains why we went how we did. Thanks very much for the cool pixelated picture you did of Christian, Mike and myself. That was very well done. We would love to see more from you if you can do them. Okay, Juan Grazioli says, "Hi guys, greetings from Uruguay and congratulations to Akira for his great job."
Thank you very much.
2 questions. Number 1, Goma says he has returned. Has he returned from his Musha Shugyo? So that's the scene, the flashback, where Goma the monk is there with little Ryu, and he says he has returned when Goken walks into the dojo. So let me give a bit of backstory. If you, timeline-wise, Gotetsu gets killed, Sayaka leaves, Goken goes on Musha Shugyo.
Yeah, went to the Musha Shugyo.
Yeah.
And then over 10 years doing the Musha Shugyo, and then he found the power of nothingness. And then after that, he still lost for the tragedy things, and then he couldn't find the answer for, you know, just what the life is. But he don't know where to go, but he came back to his roots. Then the Senzo introduced for the way of Buddhism, and then he trained as a monk. The monk's training is like it's called Takuhatsu monk. Is like when you visit, like the monk just visit for the house or a person, and then pray for them, and then beg for food or money. Yeah, that kind of training is every day. And then that Goken came back from that training. Then suddenly, Goma appeared, and then Ryu came up from me, like front of Goken.
So yeah, he's right. Akira's completely right. So he went on his Musha Shugyo, he learned Power of Nothingness, came back to Japan to his kind of to his dojo. So one little bit he missed out. That's when Dan would have been taken on as a student. So Goken went on his Musha Shugyo, learned Power of Nothingness, found a bit of grounding, came back and took on a student, Dan Hibiki. Dan was then desperate for revenge, and that's why he was training. He wanted to learn the Hado techniques. He wanted to kill Sagat because Sagat killed Dan's father, Go Hibiki. Goken realized he can no longer train Dan because Dan is fueled by revenge. So he feels like this place is bad. There's dark key here. Ever since Gotetsu died and Akuma came, there's a dark key, and maybe that's the reason why Dan... So that's why he then stopped teaching and became a monk. But something brought Goken just instinctively back to visit that dojo, and Goma happened to be there with a monk. Which leads on to your second question, Juan. He said, in the dialogue, Goma also says, "My duty here is done." Does this mean that he tried to train Ryu in his childhood? Thanks again. So no, in writing that dialogue, it's kind of... Goma So Goma's backstory. Let's take a little departure here to explain, because a lot of people are like, Goma, as a lot of you know, is Gotetsu's younger brother, who was driven mad by abuse of the Satsu no Hado. Goma left the dojo and took his own tag. Clearly, Gotetsu and him were training together, and he no longer agreed with his master's teachings or limitations, so left, like Goki did, to try and conquer Satsu no Hado and then come back and potentially kill his master. But unlike Goki, Satsu no Hado almost destroyed Goma. He got very close to that Shungoku Satsu level, but it drove him mad and almost killed him. Goma was then found by Buddhist monks who took him in and tried to heal him. Through chanting and meditation, they almost wiped his mind. They said they need to lock the Satsu no Hado in him. But in doing so, they almost wiped his memory. So now Goma is a monk, and he doesn't really have any memory of his previous life as an Ansatsuken warrior. But one day, he just got a feeling. During his monk travel, he got a feeling to go to these woods, and he found Ryu there, and then he just, again, had a feeling to take him to this dojo. He doesn't really know why, it's just an instinct. Still in his slight madness, he's just like, this is what I need to do. This is my destiny. Now I've brought you here. Goken has come. I sense that this is the one I was meant to connect to you with. My job is done. And then I leave.
That's it.
Yeah, so there you go. Hopefully that that gives you a bit more backstory on Goma. Pang Lo, you said, did Ken die for that brief moment when Ryu threw the Hadouken at him by accident, or did he just get knocked out? I'm always confused on this. He got knocked out. So think of when a Hadouken hits you, because it's someone else's ki, when it hits your body, it's going to interact with your ki and can short circuit you. It would be like if a lightning bolt struck your car, it could fry the electrics, you know? So Ken is unconscious. Yes, it has a impact, but it also, the more damage is to your ki. So that's why Goken needed to
just like a recharge for that.
Clear his meridians and get his ki flying again. Jason Sampieri, how are you? This was a very powerful episode. Finally seeing Akuma in real life is such a gift to film. After this episode, I was sitting there, jaw dropped. Joey, you win. Perfect. My question, however, is related to Goma bringing young Ryu to Goken. In the Street Fighter Assassin's Fist universe, has Goma always been watching at a distance? And how come Goken didn't know who Goma is? Goma seemed to display stealth-like powers as he slipped past Goken. Can we please see more of Goma in the future? It's almost as if Goma is very aware of Akuma and saves Ryu from the same fate. Well, we just addressed some of that in the previous question, but it's a good question. I don't think Goken knows who Goma is. Because Goken had that very brief meeting, and obviously Goma had the hat down, so he never got a good look at his face. Otherwise, you may recognize he looks like
it looks like this. But he didn't recognize for that.
And then also, see, Ryu and Ken are trained by the lake, and that's where Goma comes to do his fishing. But often Goken isn't down there, so I don't think Goken doesn't know that this crazy fisherman that's sometimes down there is actually related to his master. And because Goma has lost his mind, he doesn't do Ansatsuken, but I think something deep down makes him attracted to watch Ryu and Ken train, because there's a familiarity. But because Ryu and Ken use Muno Hado, not Satsu no Hado, it doesn't shell shock Goma. You'll maybe see as the story goes on, if Goma were to be around a powerful release of Dark Hado, it could shell shock him and possibly bring back some of his old memory. So watch this space. Okay, Invince Misots. Okay, he's got a question for me and a question for you.
Okay.
Question for me. Why did Goki hover in the forest and cave near Gotetsu's dojo for decades instead of claiming it? I have never understood why Goki waited so long before confronting Gouken and agreeing to delay the fight with Gouken even further. At that point, Ryu and Ken were mere novices at Hado and would not be a real factor. Maybe you can share your opinions on this. Okay, so you've got to understand that Goki became Akuma, but Gouken went off on his Musha Shugyo. He potentially even left Japan, so he was nowhere to be found for 10 years. Even if Goki had wanted to find him, he was on the move. And the moment that he learned Muno Hado, and
it's in China?
Yeah, possibly in China, and I think you took a vow to never use Satsu no Hado again. So Goki can only sense Gouken's ki if he's using Satsu no Hado, but because he uses Muno Hado, a more pure version, it's hard for Goki to detect him. Then when Gouken came back to Japan, he was a Buddhist monk for a while. He was only at the dojo for a very brief period, and then he left and set up his own dojo far away. Ryu Ken's dojo. So Goki doesn't know where he is. He can't sense his ki because he's not using Satsu no Hado anymore. So Goki will come back to the big dojo at the anniversary of Gotetsu's death each year, hoping one day Gouken will come. And that's when you see him. Why does Goki not conquer that dojo? I just think he has his cave. He's got his own place.
Yeah.
He likes to be alone. He doesn't, Akuma's not someone that can really live in society, so he needs to live
far away.
Yeah, it's like Miyamoto Musashi.
Yeah.
He lived in a cave at the end of his life. He kind of removed himself from society a bit. People would come to visit him in his cave, but he didn't live in a city or town, did he?
And also people say like inside the cave, like lots of spiritual things hanging around.
Sure. Yeah. How do you mean special? In whose cave?
Yeah, like just any cave for like training. Like even the monks stay there for many months. Yeah. So you see like lots of kind of ghosts or spirits and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the cave.
Even like you were just purely like lying down and at night time.
Yeah.
Suddenly you see something spooky.
So, okay, question for Akira.
Okay.
Vince Mesats says, congratulations on such a fantastic performance. Your amazing acting is the reason why so many of us cried as we watched the series.
Oh.
Throughout the series, Gouken has been holding back a lot of information. The more was revealed, the more Gouken seemed to be hiding. Despite being considered an honourable man, he is possibly the character that told the most lies in the series.
Yeah.
How did you capture such a complex character so perfectly?
Yeah, it was quite difficult, but when I get lost, like always, Joy helped me for what my feeling is like. But actually, Gouken didn't lie. It's a part of the just for example, my younger brother Goki was dead as my master, but for him, he cannot tell true yet to them, otherwise get in trouble for them. And also, for his opinion, lovely younger brother, was turned to the evil mother.
Yeah, so he's dead in a way. The Goki, the brother he knew and loved, has died, even though he knows he's still alive. So
the meaning, yes, is not lying. Yeah.
Are there any other lies? I'm trying to think. Do you tell... Well, like, you don't tell them about Satsu no Hado.
Yeah.
So you hide things. Gouken hides things. And he's been forced to talk, like with Ken. When Ken is like, well, let's talk about Satsu no Hado. And you're I don't know about it. And then he even says, who's lying now?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, for that, like... as Gouken believes, like answer is not only one. Yeah, like even I say something, just a particular meaning was, but for them maybe just other way to understanding. Yeah.
I think Goken has to be careful. That's what makes him interesting. I think when writing the script and with Christian Howard discussing Goken's character, having Goken being, he's such a strong, powerful, honourable teacher, mentor, father figure that we all trust and feel safe with. But deep down, Goken is also a bit scared. Yeah. He's scared of the destiny of Unsatsuken because Goki has always said, one day it's going to happen. It doesn't matter. We're going to fight, and one day your students are going to fight.
Yeah.
And Goken's scared of that. He thinks, no, we can change destiny, and maybe if I protect my students from the past, then they can have a different destiny than I had. But you suddenly find, like with Satsuno Hado just awakening in Ryu, as much as Goken tries, it's like destiny finds a way. And Satsuken sometimes will find a way to... It's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's almost like by teaching just Munohado to the students, it's as if you've changed tradition now.
Yeah.
It's the first generation of Ansatsuken that doesn't use Satsuno Hado.
Right.
But somehow Satsuno Hado then awakens. It's like there always has
Destiny
to be...
is chasing.
Yeah. So he also says, does Goken know Goma frequently interacts with his students? No. Does he suspect Goma knows too much about Ansatsuken just to be a random fisherman at the moment? Goma delivered Ryu to Gotetsu's dojo. Of course, it would have raised some questions in your mind. Who is this monk? How does he know me? Why has he brought this kid here? But
you're kind of mystery guy, but yeah.
Yeah, well, if we see Goken, we'll ask him. Right, let's find... It's been a long video, so let's try and wrap this up. So, Andy Vasquez says, to start, I just wanted to say to you, Akira Koyama, thank you for bringing Goken to life with such a brilliant performance.
Thank
you had to be a teacher, best friend, and a father all in one, and it was perfect. I lost my father in December, and by the time Street Fighter Assassin's Fist released, I had not really let him go. But watching your performance, especially at the very end, it's not hard to remember his advice and love, so thank you for that. I hope we see more of Goken in World Warrior. So first, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, Andy, thank you so much for then. God bless for your father's spirits, and then he's always looking after you. So no worry. Yeah, as I play like a Goken, my image. When I look back, I lost my father when I was 13. So I understand your feeling, and then also through these characters playing like acting, I believe he always be with me to play Goken. So bits and bits, like when I watch the episodes, like I see my father's figure, like a shadow or like thoughts and stuff. So so. Then you lost your father recently.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Andy, if it's any consolation, I lost my father this year, a few months ago. So I can definitely relate to what it's like. And as Akira said, you have to just feel that you absorb your father's kind of energy. So there's hopefully the path is easier because it's not just you now. You've kind of he's now in you, and there's two spirits in one moving forward, and it's like you're now carrying the torch that your dad once carried. But I agree with you. Akira has such a good. That's one of the key reasons for casting Akira as Goken is. Okay, Akira's tall, he's got the height and the presence and skills, but he's got such a big heart. If you meet Akira just casually as a friend, forget working on a film, Akira's a father in real life, 2 daughters.
Yeah. I got 2 daughters, a 20 and a 17, so yeah.
So you can really feel that he's not having to make believe with being a father, because your father in real life, I think you can really see that fathering energy with Ryu and Ken, you know, and the audience feel it. They feel they trust you and they feel safe with you. So so that's nice. What else did Andy ask? You said you wanted to ask me a question about Akuma. When we play Street Fighter, Akuma is clearly a villain, but with SFAF you gave him a purpose, and it's almost tragic how he falls from grace, but as a viewer we understand why. How challenging was it to tell his part of the story without it being half-hearted? Again, great work to everyone involved. Can't wait for the Blu-ray. Buy the Blu-ray. It's coming out end of October. In all English-speaking territories, beginning of October in Japan. It's already out in Germany. Do the right thing. The epilogue is going to give you... There's a whole lot of us in the epilogue. So
number 13.
So check it out. So to answer your question, it's a really good point, because Akuma is, in a very simplistic way, often demonized just as this villain. But with Assassin's Fist, we really wanted to make you understand who and why Akuma is. And the whole concept of one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It's all a point of view. There are very few bad guys in the world who think I am bad. They all believe they're doing the right thing. It's just point of view.
That's right. I guess like Goken believes like Akuma is a pure warrior. Pure. Just he chased for the what Asatsuken is, and then he became for that.
It's just, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that as Gotetsu tells him, we're not living in a time of war anymore. So is it necessary to continue this tradition of absolute destruction, absolute combat, when... So Goken really doesn't want a part of that. Goken wants to still pass on traditions, but live a life. Whereas Goki is like, all that matters is combat. All that matters is being the strongest. And it's kind of a clash of ideologies. But Akuma's very interesting, and I think he's a deeply complex and interesting character, and a real anti-hero. I think once you begin to understand Akuma's motives and how much he sacrificed to become Akuma, you really start to respect him. Because courage, Akuma represents true courage, that you're willing to walk into the darkest depths of your deepest fears in order to come out the other side strong and invincible. And I think there's a big... Most people are held back in life through fear. Most people don't chase their dreams because of fear. Most people are not... They're not achieving anywhere close to their full potential as a human being because of fear. We're all too scared. We often take the easy route in life. And Akuma represents, no, I'll take the hardest route. Rather than the path of least resistance, I'll take the path of most resistance. Because if I can overcome it and come out the other side, nothing can stop me. And that's, it's powerful. You know what I mean? It's a very powerful concept, that. So,
on the other hand, like Goken wants to more general happiness in life. Even like a study of the Asatsuken student, but I believe Goken wants more happy life for the, like, as a human being. I think Goken is more generous. Goken wants to share. The fact you've taken students, you want to keep passing on knowledge. And you want friendships, and you want good times, you want happiness. I don't think Goki would ever take a student because he's all about him. This is my journey. He's not interested in raising new warriors. He is like, my whole life is focused on combat and having the perfect battle. And he hopes one day, before he dies of old age, that he can find someone worthy enough to kill him in combat. I think Akuma wants the same death Gotetsu had. Because he knows if he is the Shinoni and someone can beat him, then that's a true god. Do you know what I mean? Kevin Fan, you asked a nice, concise question. Was it hard to portray Akuma? I think, given the circumstances, because... if I was just an actor, it would still be tough, because I'd have to do all my own action.
I'd have to change my physique to get huge. And I would have to speak Japanese and create this physical persona. Me as a human being, normally, I'm quite loose in my posture. My head is often at an angle. Whereas Akuma is very solid. So it's the most different... It's out of the 10 years of acting I've been doing, it's the character most different to myself I've had to play. In terms of, there's always tension in your arms. You can't just be relaxed. It's actually quite tiring playing Akuma, because you're like in a stress position. And you're focusing on the Japanese and performance while speaking a language that's not native to you. And you're wearing this wig and you've got a brow, and at first you're worrying, do I look ridiculous? You have to get past that, because at first you walk on set and everyone's looking at you like, because you've got this red wig on and this stuff and these beads and stuff. So there's a small part of you that's like, oh, I look like a clown. But you have to get over that and fully embrace and
that energy to push me back.
Good, well, it worked. It was hard, but everything's a challenge. If it's not hard, it's not worth doing, as they say in life. If it doesn't scare you, I think particularly as acting, if the role doesn't make you nervous a bit, then it's not a great role. There's pressure. I mean, playing all these characters, for Chris playing Ken, for Mike playing Ryu, for you playing Gok, these are big iconic characters, and there's a lot of pressure, and all the fans are waiting to see you fuck up and to say, oh, you're shit, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this wrong. People are just waiting like sharks to bite you. So there is a lot of pressure to pull the character off right, and Akuma and Golken have never actually been depicted in live action. Yeah. It's the first time anyone has ever portrayed these characters in live action. Because even in the Street Fighter movie with Van Damme, you have Ryu and Ken.
Yeah, I didn't see any. Yeah.
Good, keep it that way. But you still have Ryu and Ken, so at least they've been portrayed in live action. In Street Fighter Legacy, that I did years ago, you still had, Ryu and Ken. I guess Akuma fleetingly, but it wasn't long enough for you to kind of call it a performance. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up, guys. Let's just see if there's any more quick questions that are asking anything different than the rest. Okay, there's a guy, Carlos Magno. He's asking about... says, Akuma hasn't been portrayed as a chatty type, more like someone who's straight to the point. Does Goken, on the other hand, have some fear of Akuma? Given the choice, would he not fight if it meant his life? Or does he know Akuma would do nothing if he refuses to defend himself? There's crazy tension in that scene. Please break it down. So he wants to understand the scene when we meet. Are you scared of me?
Yeah, actually, but it's quite mixture feeling. For the long time, my lovely remember for the lovely younger brother is coming back, but on the other hand, he killed my master, like father. That's it. And then it's quite mixture feeling, like just kind of like chaos.
Yeah, because I think that scene is so important, because on one hand, Goken is the older brother, he's the big brother. The last time Goki and Goken fought, Goken won.
Yeah.
But Akuma, as we see in episode 9, which is set before episode 6, when Goki comes back and there was the explosion of Dark Hado, Gotetsu tells Goken, it was probably the death of your brother, but if he survived, he has become something more powerful than I've ever seen, an Akuma, and I have to face him. And Goken, young Goken, says, Master, let me face him. And Gotetsu is like, you're not ready. You're a strong warrior, but you don't understand what you're dealing with. But Akuma is... So I think, imagine if Gotetsu said that to you, and then you saw Gotetsu killed, you're like, this guy is fucking like the devil.
Devil, yeah.
So even though Goken's the big brother, and he's in one way not scared, he is scared because he's like his younger brother has become. He looks like a monster.
Yeah.
And he's seen what he's capable of.
And then
you know,
Goken knows like he no hesitate. He killed the person. He killed the people. Yeah. No hesitation.
And I think Goken is also scared because he has students. He doesn't want Ryu and Ken to come in and see him maybe die. So I think that's the biggest moment of weakness, even writing that scene, when Akuma's like, Sensei, and approaches. And then Goken's almost like, okay, I'll fight you, but not now. I'll let you know when it's perfect. So it's almost like Goken's hustling. Like, please, okay, I'll do it. And Lucky, that moment where Akuma thinks about it and is like, no, the boss, you know, and then leaves. It's almost like, even for Goken, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because lucky Akuma had mercy, and you knew that Akuma wants a perfect fight. So if you tell him, not now, but you'll know when it's perfect, he'll take that.
Yeah, that's a deal for that.
So there is a degree of fear, and that's what's very difficult, because Goken is someone who you don't want to see scared, because he's big, powerful master. So to see him almost like trying to talk his way out of a situation, you don't know, had Akuma fought then, would Goken have been ready?
Yeah.
I don't know. But watch the epilogue. You guys have to get the DVD.
Yeah, that's then you can find out.
Because without giving too much away, of course you guys are like, what's going to happen between Akuma and Goken?
Yeah.
You know, we left you hanging at the end of the series when Ryu and Ken go. So I think for you guys to fully understand the Akuma Goken relationship,
for that,
you need to see the epilogue, because a lot you learn a lot.
Yeah,
about the two of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, I think we'll wrap it up